In the last quarter of the 20th century, much of the world sat on the edge of an increasingly expensive theater seat, waiting for something momentous to occur. Christian aficionados of the Second Coming scenario were convinced that after 2,000 years, the other shoe was about to drop, and 5 of the era's best-known psychics predicted that Atlantis would soon re-emerge from the depths. To this last, Princess Li Cherie responded, "There are 3 lost continents, and we are one, the lovers." In whatever esteem one might hold Princess Li Cherie's thoughts, one must agree that the last quarter of the century was a severe period for lovers. It was a time when romantic relationships took on the character of ice and spring, stranding many little children on jagged and inhospitable floes. Nobody quite knew what to make of the moon anymore. Consider a certain night in August. The moon was so bloated it was about to tip over. For more than an hour, Li Cherie stared at the sky. "Does the moon have a purpose?" she inquired. The same query put to the Remington SL3 typewriter elicited this response. Albert Camus wrote that the only serious question in life is whether to kill yourself or not. Tom Robbins wrote that the only serious question is whether time has a beginning and an end. Camus clearly got up on the wrong side of bed, and Robbins must have forgotten to set the alarm. There is only one serious question, and that is, who knows how to make love today? Answer me that, and I will tell you whether or not to kill yourself. Answer me that, and I will ease your mind about the beginning and the end of time. Answer me that, and I will reveal to you the purpose of the moon. Somewhere I have never traveled, gladly beyond any experience, your eyes have their silence. In your most frail gesture are things which enclose me, or which I cannot touch because they are too near. Your slightest look easily will unclose me, though I have closed myself as fingers. You open always, petal by petal, myself as spring opens, touching skillfully, mysteriously, her first rose. Or if your wish be to close me, I and my life will shut very beautifully, suddenly, as when the heart of this flower imagines the snow carefully everywhere descending. Nothing which we are to perceive in this world equals the power of your intense fragility, whose texture compels me with the color of its countries, rendering death and forever with each breathing. I do not know what it is about you that closes and opens. Only something in me understands. The voice of your eyes is deeper than all roses. Nobody, not even the rain, has such small hands. Nobody, not even the rain, has such small hands. Nobody, not even the rain, has such small hands. Nobody, not even the rain, has such small hands. It was many and many a year ago in a kingdom by the sea that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by. I was a child and she was a child in that princedom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than just love. Oh, with a love even the seraphs up in heaven covet. And that was the reason that long ago in that princedom asleep by the sea, that old wind shut her body in a sepulcher buried in the sea, that bore my sweet darling away from me. Oh, the angels, they envied us, envied our love. Yes, that was the reason the wind came out, stirred the air and made the waves shake madly, killing my Annabel Lee. Oh, my Annabel Lee. Our love, it was strong, so strong, that neither the angels up in heaven nor the demons in the sea can ever dissever my soul from the soul of my Annabel Lee. once was a great kingdom, and its great king had a beautiful daughter who passed her days in solitude, weaving garments for the pleasure of her father. One day, while she was sitting beside the great river, peering across, she saw a handsome young shepherd boy leading his flock through the pasture. Immediately, she fell in love. Thereafter, she became terribly disheartened, knowing that, due to her duties at the loom, she would be unable to pursue that love. The king, aware that it was by his bidding that such despair had befallen her, felt great remorse, and arranged for her to marry the shepherd. Their marriage was one of happiness from the start, and every day thereafter they grew happier and happier. However, in immersing herself in her marriage, the princess had neglected her weaving, and as a result, the great king became angry. Unable to reconcile with that anger, the great king banished each of the lovers to opposite sides of the great river, allowing them only to meet once each year, on the 7th day of the 7th month. On that day, a ferryman carries the shepherd boy across the river to the princess and returns him home at day's end. However, if the princess has not fulfilled her obligations at the loom, the king floods the river, and the two cannot meet. Sure, I know that you are tired of hearing about it, but most repeat the same theme over and over again. It's as if they were trying to refine what seems so strange and off and important to them. It's done by everybody because everybody must work out what is before them over and over again because that is their personal tiny miracle. Like now as like before and before, I have been listening to symphony after symphony from this radio. It makes me realize that certain people now long dead were able to transgress graveyards and traps and cages and bones and limbs. In tiny rented rooms, I was struck by miracles. The flesh covers the bone and they put a mind in there, and sometimes the soul, and the women break faces against the walls, and the men they drink too much, and nobody ever finds the one but keep looking, crawling in and out of beds. Flesh covers the bone and the flesh searches for more than flesh. There is a loneliness in this world so great that you can see it in the slow movement of the hands of a clock. People so tired, mutilated, either by love or no love. People just are not good to each other. We are afraid. Our educational system tells us that we can all be big winners, but it hasn't told us about the gutters or the suicides, or the terror of one person aching in one place alone, untouched, unspoken to. People are not good to each other. People are not good to each other. Suppose they never will be. I don't ask them to be. But sometimes I think about it. There must be a way. Surely, there must be a way. There is no chance at all. We are all trapped by fate. Nobody ever finds the one. Nobody ever finds the one. There is no chance at all. We are all trapped by fate. Who put this brain inside of me? It says that there's a chance. It's kept the rope from my throat. Maybe it'll loosen yours. The city dumps fill. The junkyards fill. The graveyards fill. Nothing else fills. Nothing else fills. Nothing else fills. The gods had condemned Sisyphus to ceaselessly rolling a rock to the top of the mountain, whence the stone would fall back of its own weight. They had thought with some reason that there is no more dreadful punishment than futile and hopeless labor. Nothing is told us about Sisyphus in the underworld. Myths are made for the imagination. As for this myth, one sees merely the whole effort of a body straining to raise the huge stone, to roll it and push it up a slope 100 times over. One sees the face screwed up, the cheek tight against the stone, and the wholly human security of two earth-blotted hands. At the very end of this long effort, the
purpose is achieved. Then Sisyphus watches the stone rush down in a few moments toward the lower world, whence he will have to push it up again toward the sun. He goes back to the flint. It is during that return, that pause, that Sisyphus interests me. A face that toils so close to stones is already stone itself. I see that man going back down with a heavy yet measured step toward the torment of which he will never know the end. That hour, like a breathing space which returns as surely as his suffering, that is the hour of consciousness. At each of those moments when he leaves the heights and gradually sinks towards the layers of the gods, he is superior to his fate. He is stronger than the rock. The workman of today works every day in his life at the same task, and his fate is no less absurd. But it is tragic only at the rare moments when it becomes conscious. Sisyphus knows the whole extent of his wretched condition. It is what he thinks of during his descent. There is no fate that cannot be surmounted by scorn. If the descent is thus sometimes performed in sorrow, it can also take place in joy. When the images of earth cling too tightly to memory, it happens that melancholy arises in a man's heart. This is the rock's victory, but crushing truths perish from being acknowledged. Thus, Oedipus at the outset obeys fate without knowing it. But from the moment he knows, his tragedy begins. Yet at the same moment he realizes that the only bond linking him to the world is the cool hand of a girl. Then a tremendous remark rings out. Despite so many ordeals, my advanced age and the nobility of my soul make me conclude that all is well. I conclude that all is well, says Oedipus, and that remark is sacred. It echoes in the wild and limited universe of man. It teaches that all is not, has not been, exhausted. All Sisyphus' silent joy is contained therein. His fate belongs to him. The rock is still rolling. The mole had been working very hard all the morning, spring cleaning his little home, first with brooms, then with dusters, then on ladders and steps and chairs, with a brush and a pail of whitewash, till he had dust in his throat and eyes and splashes of whitewash all over his black fur. Spring was moving in the air above and in the earth below and around him, penetrating even his dark and lowly little house with its spirit of divine discontent and longing. It was small wonder, then, that he suddenly flung down his brush on the floor, said, "Father, something above was calling." So he scraped and scratched and scrabbled and scrooged, and then he scrooged again and scrabbled and scratched and scraped, working busily with his little paws and muttering to himself, up we go, till at last, pop, his snout came out into the sunlight, and he found himself rolling in the warm grass of a great meadow. This is fine, he said to himself, and, jumping off all his four legs at once, in the joy of living and the delight of spring, he pursued his way across the meadow till he reached the hedge on the further side. Hither and thither through the meadows he rambled busily, finding everywhere birds building, flowers budding, leaves thrusting, everything happy and progressive and occupied, and instead of having an uneasy conscience pricking him, he somehow could only feel how jolly it was to be the only idle dog among all these busy citizens. He thought his happiness was complete when, as he meandered aimlessly along, suddenly he stood by the edge of a full-fed river. Never in his life had he seen a river before, this sleek, sinuous, full-bodied animal, chasing and chuckling, gripping things with a gurgle and leaving them with a laugh, to fling itself on fresh playmates that shook themselves free and were caught and held again. All was a shake and a shiver, glints and gleams and sparkles, rustle and swirl and chatter and whirl. The mole was bewitched, entranced, fascinated. By the side of the river he trotted as one trots when very small by the side of a man who holds one spellbound by exciting stories. When tired at last he sat on the bank while the river still chattered on to him, a babbling procession of the best stories in the world, sent from the heart of the earth to be told at last to the insatiable sea. The mole waggled his toes from sheer happiness, spread his chest with a sigh of full contentment, and leaned back blissfully. "What a day I'm having," he said. San Diego. I'd just come out on the other side of a relationship that blew up. I was angry and disillusioned and ultimately self-destructive. I lost everything I believed in. I was as utterly, completely alone as I've ever been. So I began going on walks. I started taking late-night walks around the San Diego suburb I was living in at the time. I'd start walking early evening and come back close to midnight, sometimes later, walking and thinking and chewing over what had gone wrong. One night at 4th and E Streets, I got mugged and beaten by a street gang. Sent me to the hospital with serious indications of mortality. When the ER techs asked what my religion was, I refused to answer. I made my private peace with the universe, content with whatever was going to happen, whatever not. Then something happened. I got angry. I got angry because I still had It took 2 months to fully recover, but two things came out of that incident. First, I have no fear of death, none whatsoever. Second, as soon as I was well enough, I started walking again, sometimes until 3 or 4 in the morning, through parts of town that made even street people nervous. When people asked what I was doing out there, the only answer I could give was I'm looking for something. So I kept walking through some of the most dangerous parts of San Diego before it got cleaned up, when it was still home to hookers and drugs and gangs. Finally, one afternoon, I came to the same areas I walked through at night, and I was struck by the dichotomy between that corner at night and that very same corner during the day. In the daylight, there were businessmen and kids and clerks eager to get home to dinner and TV. Then later came the night shift, the lost people, emerging from shadows and beds of pain to walk the same streets in search of fixes, money, and bars, gradually fading away with the dawn. Two totally different worlds, sharing nothing but longitude and latitude. There was the nation in the day and the nation at night, existing side by side, but each fleeing the other. A daylight nation and a midnight nation. I saw a country bifurcated by more than just the presence and absence of light, but by lives cast aside and lost and uncared for, the walked away and the thrown away on one side, and on the other, those who pretended not to see them, because not seeing is easier. And I saw someone forced to walk both sides of the metaphor to learn that the greatest cruelty is our casual blindness to the despair of others, that there but for the grace of whatever God you subscribe to goes any of us. And finally I realized that I had found what I was looking for without ever being quite sure what it was. I found a story that would make my own life make sense of it. This story. I still take long walks, and I still stop and talk to the people who stand at the corner and wait for something to happen to them, who wait for money to fall into a hat or a cup, who wait for someone to recognize their pain, because the line between the midnight nation and the place where I sit right now writing these words is thin and ephemeral and can be crossed in an instant, because the road to the midnight nation can be erased only through compassion. I found my story, this story, on a hazy afternoon in 1978. Now it's yours. The keys to the Midnight Nation are in your hands. What you do with them is up to you. J. Michael Straczynski, Sherman Oaks, California, July 21st, 2002.
Song is from a Here Here record. On the church steps when I moved to kiss your chest, how we paid such close attention to each sweet and stuttered breath. I should have stopped to paint our picture, captured honest, pure affection, just to document the difference between attraction and connection. I can see all of my friends and I break into empty buildings when the coast was clear, backpacks full of beer. We'd throw our bottles from the rooftop at the city. It looked endless, cause I still don't see the difference between real purpose and that urgent adolescence. Basement, sharing sweat with all these stranger boys and girls. Will change the world, we sang, will change the world, but nothing seems to change. They say none of them will listen, but I still see much more power in that basement than in useless politicians. If we get beaten by this winter, if we get strangled by regret, just let our love of life and tension, gasping sweet and stuttered breaths, have them throw us in a basement, smash some bottles on the ground, and say we never knew the difference between the feeling and the sound. Remember not our faulty pieces, remember not our rusted parts. It's not the petty imperfections that define us, but the way we hold our hearts and the way we hold our heads. I hope they write your name beside mine on my gravestone when I'm dead. And when we are dead, let our voices carry on to find a better song, find a better song, and sing along, sing along, sing along. Sing along. Sing along. So sing along. Sing along. Sing along.
I promised Colin I'd keep writing, and that's the only promise I've kept, but I have no regrets. Like your empty mailbox, it doesn't bother me. Not at all. I promised you I'd come visit soon. Guess I should have made the trip, but money's tight as rope, time too. You know how it goes better than anyone. There's never much of anything we need or think we do, so I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad. Somewhere you cut me out, fall in love to rinse your mouth. But it doesn't bother me at all. I promised Colin I'd take off to you soon on an old deck in Louisville, Kentucky. 4 stories up, 6 a.m. and 10 deep while they were sleeping. I said, keep me in check, friend. I tried. But I couldn't be. And that small window closed and I'd never really kept writing either. Just stared downward at the page most times or thought about it real hard. And there must be something missing in me that she's there and I'm still here because that's messed up. But I don't feel bad about it. But it doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't bother me at all. But it doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't bother me at all. But it doesn't bother me at all. 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 And 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 it doesn't bother me at all.
sing along, so sing along.
And I feel alright tonight. Yeah, I feel alright tonight. I feel alright. I feel alright. I feel alright.
Walked in to find you sitting in your kitchen softly, singing someone carry me away. If there's someone always leaving, will we ever stop believing that the winter fits us perfectly? And isn't someone always coming once the summer's up and running? Won't you feel warm with me? We're so tired of when we don't make mistakes, when things get torn away. And we're so scared of losing faith that we can't put things back together when they break. Walked in to find you staring out the window at the city, holding memories of older times and how she'd gone away. We sang through smoke and rum and coke and promised with our pity man one day I swear we'll be okay. Be okay. Walked in to find you sitting in your kitchen softly, singing someone carry me away. We will kneel down in the reeds beside the water. We will float 2 paper boats down slowly in. River spiderwebs the map, breaking glass like here might shatter, send us scattering like seeds into the wind. From the cattails bursting, slamming on our skin. As we chase our vessels racing toward the lake, I start to shake when you wade down, ankles bare now, to go swim. And this is what I do now every day.
travel back and forwards either way. There's a village for us somewhere in northern Michigan, with a dirt road leading to a covered bridge, where earlier we'd scurried off to check the cart the horse had drawn for fuses and more powder for the fourth. And in the nighttime, when the first of them is lit, we'll sneak back there in darkness just to kiss, and I'll panic at your image as the flashes split the rafter gaps. Terrified, you'll see my open eyelids. And this is what I do now every night. Try to somehow catch you in the light. Summer goes, the leaves shift tone and float, as the canopy reverts to branch and bone, downward tumbling inadvertently. You stumble and you steady me, I twirl you one quick circle, make your ankles show, and we laugh so hard we can no longer stand, and you look me in the eyes and take my hands. On the forest floor it's warmer than my bed has ever been before, curled up tight together like an ampersand. And this is what I do now all alone. Count the many things that make you home. The snow falls, we will wrap ourselves in furs, lie beside the stove and stoke the fire, make the embers roar a little more. Snow drifts up the cabin door, you glow and we speak slowly, growing tired. So let the winter freeze each corner of the earth, bury everything I've had in frozen dirt. If I could travel back in time and find you, follow always right behind you, I'd live in any age and start from birth. Because this is what it is that pulls me through, that you belong to me and I to you.